Start reading from the first year in which they look says they appeared. Cracks in the earth while Lucian reaches the year 34 in which the first Superman and martial arts schools are created, and then he realizes it's the same story he read in. His world shines. He realizes that his language is the same and the grading system is identical, and he realize that this place is a world in the future, but then he decides to test his hunch. He asks there if you have data on the inhabitants. Search for the name Lusing in the database. Lusing finds 36 people between. They find himself, says he died at 28, he was single, and there is no historical classification prevents us from information on the date March 299. But she says access is denied since Lusing is a martial arts master. She asks him to leave. Register to get access, and you have to give the blood as genetic material. They look, you don't understand how you have to give blood, but then she bites his finger and draws a drop of blood, does a blood test. Then their face expression changes, the hologram turns red and says that the lightning project has started and looks in. He does not understand what is happening, and then Lusing accesses the data, sees his resume. In this life he was a teacher. Rank 4, died at age 38 in combat. Lusing graduated from high school. He went to college with honors, and when he graduated he entered the army. He realizes that if he gets stronger he can change the future. Look at his resume at 18 years old on this database. Data, he is far from being the strongest. There are many fighters who have been better than him, but Lusing is not going to render. That's why he read that his status is 2012 and his skills are 257. Will soon grow stronger and make it known to the whole country, is determined to save his world from destruction. We change the scene where we see Lusing, who sits at the table to have breakfast. His mother asks him why he hasn't changed his clothes or if he has to go to the Lusing school. Responds that they have given him the opportunity to study at home. Is the first time her sister finds out. Lusing retires to her room to study. Her sister realizes that Lizenga has changed lately. He has become calmer, more serious and intelligent. Light enters his room, where he receives a call from the professor telling him that the scholarship has arrived and that he has to go to school in the afternoon to look for her. He also asked because Lusing wasn't at school today, he wanted to talk to him about his attendance time at school. Lusing replies that he doesn't have time to waste. Then he hangs up phone and begins to meditate with the thought of becoming stronger and saving the world. Lusing returns to the building with there. He asks her to take out all the martial arts training options. She shows him 465,751 results in total. Lusing tells you that it is too much and that choose the most suitable skill for the first level martial artist to cultivate and at the same time adjust the most valuable content. She shows you the best martial arts in 10,000 years, which is body refining. Stellar was created by Guang, the strongest man of level 11 of Gumat. The natural breathing was created by Jin Hao, the 11th strongest man. From Gumam, crystal vision was created by Anji Feng, the most Gumat's level 11 strong. Look, thinking that currently the strongest martial artist is actually only level 9 and that in front of him are 3 inheritances of the strongest level 11. It's amazing. Although it's just an introductory chapter, but its value is too much. Great, these thermals have been incorporated into the fire starter plan. They look proof the lightning star body refining technique, that his body is like the miniature universe, meditates the mind and dispels thoughts, refines life and strengthens stamina, refines mind and enter each cell, competing each cell into an infinite star, turns the blood that flows in a growing river of stars in the stellar field of infinite changes in the body. The physical density of those who practice martial arts will reach an extremely terrifying level. Both defense and strength will be unimaginable. The blood is even more fierce, like a star, like a mighty river of stars. If the previous body training effect is 1, then the cultivation effect star 1000 or even more at the beginning of the exercise was no different from ordinary transmission gymnastics to the continuation. The Yising uses the natural breathing technique. The first part of natural breathing is the breath of fire. Lusing starts breathing fires. Lusing feels like there's countless tongues of fire within him, as well as a feeling that his blood is boiling. Finally uses the crystal vision technique. This technique clears your mind and strengthens your conscience. Lusing tries to understand it. Lusing sits down to meditate and his image appears before him. He cannot understand its principle and decides to leave it for later. They look awake in their room. It feels like they haven't slept at all. It's dirty and sweaty. The technique of the star and breath of fire complemented each other, allowing him to draw all the negativity of his body. Is thinking that when he gets his scholarship he will be able to create his own medicine, which is Many times better than the current Lucen goes to school. The teacher gives him a scholarship card. The teacher asks you to come to school at least once a week. Only a couple of days ago. He doesn't see it, but he already sees a difference in light. He walks through the city thinking that now he has to solve the issue of food. Luckily he has recipes from the future and he can use them to make his meals. Has found 2 recipes: vitality serum and the second pills, bone marrow. But to manufacture them you need a laboratory, because if you make the slightest mistake in the preparation, you can die from these medicines. You cannot buy all the utensils for the laboratory since the money is scarce, so he decides to rent a laboratory. He goes to the first pharmacy, but they immediately reject him, saying that they want to steal profits. All the pharmacies said what? He finally finds a pharmacy at the end of the city. He enters and inside he is received by a person who does not know himself. Interested in the clients, Lucen says that he has not come to buy medicines, but the seller pays no attention, and then Lucen grabs his hand with the phone and breaks it. The seller, he tries to do something, but as soon as he sees Lucen's look, he calms down. Now he's kinder. Lucen asks if there's a problem. The laboratory tells him that there is. Lucen wants to make a deal with him. Okay, Lucen has to pay 500 for each hour for a total of 3 hours. Lucen hands him the card and the seller leaves happily. From there he begins his work. First he takes a green lizard, separates its scales using solutions and different concentrates, then uses lasers to liquefy the stone. Mole using the right temperature becomes watery. Then take the petrified paperwood root and use a laser to cut it into thin slices. After preparing all the ingredients, assemble the remedy. Doing it at first light encompasses. For the first few seconds it seems to have no effect, but then it has a frantic rush of energy, falls to the ground in one gulp. He has regained all the strength he had lost in your workout. The drug has minimal side effects and many additional benefits. The seller knocks on the door. Lucen comes out and asks what happened since his time has not passed and asked not to be disturbed. The seller says to urgently leave through the back door. It turns out that his boss's wife has returned. His laboratory has arrived and he has I get a box with different bottles. Try the content of one of them, but it's not what you need. You barely have it. Effect: the world of martial arts is constantly evolving. In the world of medicine, every year there are new medicines and the old ones remain in the pages of history. This girl's family is conservative. Keeps up, so they are almost broke. Their meds are almost 100 years old but still on the shelves. And this girl tries to find a new recipe to save her family. The seller meets her, falls in love with her and is willing to obey her until death. He already imagines a future with her. But then she asks him if he has allowed anyone to use his lab. He says no. She tells him, says goodbye. There was a lot of trash in the lab. That's how she knew someone was working there. She sees a lizard in a jar but can't understand why someone would leave the most unnecessary of a lizard and the most valuable. Then he notices that there is a medicine bottle on the floor. He picks it up because of the color and the smell, begins to identify what ingredients it contains, decide to try it, immediately feel the frenetic effects. While so much the seller is collecting his things, he comes out of there and is upset. All her dreams with her lover have been shattered. She begs God to give her a chance to see her God once again, and at that moment the mistress comes running from afar, shouts at him to stop. Stop. The seller cheerfully goes to her. She grabs him and asks who he was in his lab. He needs to see him urgently. She promises to hire him again, new plus double his salary if he finds it. The salesman hands him his phone and tells him he has his number. Mark the number of lights. Thinks to herself that this remedy is uniquely composed of cheap ingredients but many times more powerful than all other medicines. Meanwhile, Lucen trains at home. The medicine has helped him a lot. He has managed to make 12 units at his level. Current needs to drink 2 bottles a day, which means that in 6 days we'll have to find a lab again to do more. Than when receives the call and the owner of the pharmacy picks it up. She knows him as a genius and asks for his collaboration. She believes that his medicine will be a worldwide success, but it looks like he says he can't come back for a week, and after saying this he hangs up. Immediately she grabs the seller and tells him that if he finds it within 6 days she will give him 10,000 for each day to go ahead, and the happy man listens to her and hopes to find him. The seller tells him that the man who was in the laboratory is a mere 18-year-old teenager. The owner looks at him surprised. The only thought in his head is who this brilliant teenager is. We change the scene where we see Lucen, who returned to fight zombies, taking their power and experience. This time he faces a very strong opponent. This zombie is a master of level 4. Music, applause. They see their memories. This zombie is a hero who died defending his city. Lucien bows to him. Lucien realizes that in life this zombie would have been a level 5 master if I had intelligence and both Lusinger hands. He understood that fighting purely based on reflexes, but he would still have lost Lucien. He has been training for 3 weeks. Legendary techniques with the help of the preparations and numerous practices has been able to make great progress using a technique. Secret breathing and stellar hardening was able to unleash a force several hundred times his normal strength while pondering this Lucien. He was surrounded by zombies. Lucien shows his new technique which he calls star power and kills all the men. Music. After the battle, Lucien returns to the dojo to check his stats. The girl asks him what he is doing here since he has an exam soon. He thinks that he cannot increase his strength quickly. Before long he agrees with her but says he would like to check it out anyway. It's the second time she's coming this month. She tells him that room 206 is free, you can check there. They look, check its status, its new score is 15,632, is much higher than a level 2 teacher. Realizes that it is no surprise since he has been using the best techniques and drinking the best medicine of all time, then decides to put his fighting skills to the test. Lucien hits and sees the number 3,137. This number is twice the usual. After all, Lucien didn't hit with full force, hit again, but this once with all his strength. After checking, Lucien comes out of there. The girl at the entrance asks him if he is happy with his result. They look. He says with a smile that he is satisfied. She wishes him success in the Lucien exam. He leaves and the girl keeps thinking about him, saying that he has a very pretty smile. This is heard by the girl, who just enter with her brother. This girl, Ni Xian, is the daughter of the director of the Crimson River School. Ni says she just to relate and that her friend is already falling in love with the boy, but the girl awkwardly replies that he is just a schoolboy who comes to check his grades. Their conversation is interrupted by Nishuang's brother. He says he doesn't have sense of beauty. If the boy can't protect her from monsters, he says he will. Cares like a poor family guy. Thinks there's no point in checking his stats for this guy. He had been drinking expensive tonics since he was a child and his stats were higher than everyone else's. Even before training, the difference between his strength and that of his peers increases day by day. His sister. He doesn't like what he says. He hits him and tells him not to compare himself with the boys from a normal family. His brother asks him permission to see Lucien's results. She asks him why he needs it at all, to which he replies that he looked a couple of years older than he wants to see if his hard work has any effect. He tells him allows. The girl says that Sin is the only one who has come today to test his skills. You can see his statistics right here. She hands them the clipboard and their jaws drop at what they see. They ask if the machines they're broken. The girl says it can't be. They just checked them yesterday. Asks if this guy's number or address is available. Xiaolin replies that he is not a partner but who comes often, probably lives not too far from here, nor commands all available staff. Find him. Meanwhile, Lucien arrives in the city. A taxi driver receives him. Sociable man who promises to introduce him to his daughter the next time he sees her. Lucien refuses to take his exam for second rank master. Right at the door bumps into a guy who has failed the exam, yells at him that he has been studying and practicing for a long time and that he does not understand how he got a grade so low. This guy is told that the equipment here is the most accurate, is custom made. This is just what it takes. You can finally know your exact Lucien score is coming up to reception and asks how she can take the rank 2 master exam. Hands over a form and tells you that you have to fill it out, then you have to go to the room 5203. Look, fill in the forms and enter the room. There is a huge queue. Lucien feels a bit disappointed. The guys in front are arguing with the girl in front and there's a cute girl standing there and then another member. A huge guy walks into the room and steps out of line. The crowd is upset that everyone here is doing Q, but the guard says it's true. This guy has a ticket. He's trying out for rank 3 master. Everyone, you are shocked by this news. Check your health. The machine gives a number 107. The crowd is speechless at what they see, then checks his strength. His punch to the machine made the whole crowd fall from the shock wave. Just that girl and Lucien remained standing there. Fighting power is equal to 10,831. The instructor told him congratulates and tells her that she has passed the rank 3 master test. The girl looks at me. She can't understand how could resist after something like that, since he seems like a simple weak boy. The instructor calls the next Lucien. He immediately approach him since the crowd has not yet come to their senses. Lucien checks his status and sees 15,701. The crowd is even more surprised. Even the big guy looks surprised. Then Lucien approaches the second machine. The instructor tells him not to worry and to concentrate. Lucien thanks him and hits with all his might. The device Listen smashed the wall behind the device. His score was 15.709/140. Listen concerted all the energy of his punch and also used the power of the stars and the natural breath, which allowed him to multiply his strength by 10. The instructor stammering gives him his congratulations. He says that the performance exceeds that of a rank 3 master, so he needs to consult. He apologizes and says that he can't give rating right now. After these words, he immediately runs out to inform his superiors about the incident. At that moment, the big guy approaches Listen from behind, loosing him. He asks what he wants, but he holds out his hand and introduces himself. His name is Fao. Shakes hands. This makes Fao blush with joy. People immediately run to Listen, asking him to shake their hands and take a picture with them. Lucent is out of them, and there are 3 girls outside waiting for the little one. From the exam, one of them is Lucing's sister. She sees her brother leaving the building. Lucing approaches her sister and asks her what she is doing here, but her sister tells her that she should be the one to tell him. He will ask, since he sleeps and does not go to school every day, what does he do here? Lucing starts as he knew he was sleeping and tells her that he had things to do here. His sister's friends say they have come to support their friend, that today he already took an exam here. They say he is handsome, not as his sister described him. Thank you. Lucing's sister yells at them. Furious light comes out of there after saying goodbye of them. Then they see their friend who comes from afar. They ask her if she has passed the test. She says that something happened there and that's why the exam has been failed. They ask her what happened there. She tells them that a guy her age showed a health status of 15.7 and a fighting power of 15,000. Until then she thought her stats were good, but after what she saw, her opinion has changed. Her friends ask her how did she know. Calls. She replies that her name is Lucing. Everyone looks surprised at the sister of Lucing. Meanwhile, Lucing walks through the city and sees a crowd of people looking for a guy. The crowd says that this guy crossed the path of the fighting school. They are the employees of the place where his statistics are checked. Not. He had realized that the people there were so bad. At that moment they shine. He comes home and sits down to meditate again. In his dream he visits there and asks to see his biography has returned to change. Lucing realizes that he can change his future. Until a week ago he saw that he had only reached the 4th rank. Today sees that he was able to reach rank 6 and that he died at 87, but he realizes that this is not enough. Not even level 9 is enough. He has to get much stronger to save this world. He chose this path and now he has no intention of leaving it. Chow, president of the Valle Martial Arts Association, is busy in his office writing. Reflect on the fact that there have been no prominent teachers in his city for a long time. Also says that all those with special abilities leave the city immediately. A training camp is about to open and there he has no one to send there. His reasoning is interrupted by a secretary who breaks into his office, yells that something has happened in the exam. The one who has passed, she tells him that the examiner just transmitted the exam data. There is a teenager who showed a rank 2 combat power of 15,000. If I do immediately take her tablet to watch the video of the test. Her joy has no limits, but later, after watching the video, he remains silent, shocked. Finally, he says that Lucian has not used a perfect technique of fights with fists. Receptionist asks what does this mean. Says it is terminology used in the world of martial arts. Says that those who have been able to reach that level through such a young age is not more than 10 years. Even with this technique it is impossible to reach a state of health of 15.7 and a fighting power of 15,000 since it only enhances a person's abilities by a factor of 2. He laughs merrily and picks up his secretary in his arms, shouts that this is a gifted martial artist in a million. The secretary is done. Dizzy. The president continues to spin with joy. Chow says that among those who practice martial arts there are those with unique talents. Awaken in them a power that surpasses the imagination of the average person. Once awakened, his status and his fighting power increase dramatically, exponentially. The president will personally to see Lucin wants to thank his parents for having such a wonderful son. Meanwhile, a student from the same college as Lazenga had found Lucin was able to find out everything about his family, including where he lives. He asks him what he wants to do with him since he is just an ordinary boy from a poor family. She yells that she has an idea. She calls someone and after the call she orders, "Go to the store and buy something expensive for Lucin's parents." We change the scene where we see Lucin's sister, who knocks on the door and asks him to come out and tells him that Lucin has a visitor. He is surprised his sister has called him brother for the first time in a long time. He leaves the room confused by the faces of his father and his mother. Introduces the guest. This is the president. Chow says that he has come for the result from the exam. Lucin knows him. The president is a teacher of rank 6. CO is Surprised by Lusing's calm, Miss Ni also comes to see Lusing. She also greets him and tells him. He asks if he remembers her. After greeting him, the president says he has come to give Lusing a rank 2 master insignia. Also adds that their numbers far exceed that of a rank 2 master. All of the family is shocked by what they have heard. CEO says he will also be paid for electricity and thanks. Immediately adds that cheese is only free in a mousetrap so it can. Thanking them, says bluntly that he would like them to participate in the field of training or interrupt him. Immediately says that the place is ruining his brother's talent, that he also attended that camp. He came back from there broken and barely looked like a human. She warns Birth, saying he has a great future and shouldn't take such a risk. Xiao agrees with her and says that it really is a risk, but Lusing says that he is not the type of man who breaks. Chao also emphasizes the fact that he has shown incredible performance in the test for what he believes. That Lusing has no limits. The letter shrinks and says that Xiao is right, and he agrees to attend the camp upon hearing President Zhao's agreement and leaves, saying that he will pick him up. In a couple of days he leaves and wonders what the reason for the lady's visit is, and she is not ashamed. Lusing, it turns out, to be more handsome than in the photo, or that he has come to invite dinner at the honorary one of his martial arts school. He asks what that means. She tells him that if he becomes your student will be able to choose any class schedule. They will even be able to come alone whenever they want, as well as the entire team. His school will be free for him and he will be able to train personally with his father. He will also be known throughout the city. Nor is he already thinking about how popular his school will be. So Lusing joins her, but he replies that he is not interested, or he tries to reason with him, but Lusing says that the conditions are very good, but he doesn't want to attract attention. He also says that he doesn't need his gym or his trainers because he has his own methodology. She says that if he joins her school she will send him a salary of 100,000 today. After these words she leaves them, and Lusing's parents feel happy for what they have heard. Lusing says that everything is true, that he really is a rank 2 martial arts master. He tells his mother that he no longer has to work, that at his age he should already be resting. He also tells his father that he can now leave your hard work, from now on he will take care of them. With these words, hug your parents. While both the owner of the pharmacy is still baffled and does not know how to find, Lusing has checked the list of all the recently registered pharmacists but can't find a status analyzing the Lusing tonic, and the more he analyzes it, the more he is surprised at the effects of the medicine the salesman tells him. He says that he has found Lusing and points out to the television on the news that they have been informed of the results of the search. Test sits back in his chair, shocked to discover that he is just a student. We change the scene where we see the mountain of the lone fox in the city of Suarez. Lusing runs at the speed of the lightning towards the mountain, is practicing his movement technique with the power of the stars. In this way has been able to reach a new level of speed. His speed is now that of a rank 2 master of the skill called running on clouds. Reaches the top of the mountain. This is where you practice natural breathing. With each breath you draw strength from the air of this mode. Can also feel everything around it hits the air with energy and blurs the clouds with a shock wave. He's delighted he's been able to reach a new level, but the purpose of his coming here is different. He came to gather herbs for pills. Lusing ran out of serum, and then it was decided to make pills with the bone marrow in the mountain. He found the herb he needed. The rest of the ingredients are waiting for him below. Lusing used the cloudless path to get down from there faster. He reaches the merchant to whom he ordered his herbs. Everything that shines prevented this ready, and it is of good quality. Lusing gives him 5,000 but asks him to take his time. Has changed its price now. He wants 1,000 for each and he has to buy everything. Who has? Lusing asks why the price has changed. At that moment a bandit mob comes out behind the forest. The vendor says he's not from around here, so he has to abide by their rules. Lusing realizes that they want to take everything from him by force. The seller tells him not to do any stupid because your boys are great fighters, and although they look good, call the police. They will not arrive on time, and when they do, they won't believe him because all the locals will rise up against him. They look. He picks up a stone and breaks it with one blow. The bandits are silent. Asu asks them with what rules they play now. They fall on their knees and apologize for their rudeness. The seller says he will give him all the free merchandise. Lusing says his parents taught him that businesses must be honest. Bandits told him, "Thank you for your advice. I wanted to give you the money, but since you have been rejected so harshly in exchange for your opinion." Seller, still sitting and surprised, did not think that there would be such strong students the next day. Camp training for geniuses in the province of Dinning.